All right, Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN. Jay Blevins, of course, covers the 76ers, 97.3 ESPN.com. You can check out more. They got the game tonight against the Spurs. You can hear it right here on 97.3 ESPN. And he joins us now to give some more insight on what we saw on Saturday. And, Jay, I would imagine there's a laundry list of things that bothered people. What's at the top of the list of what was the most frustrating?
Well, I think number one would be the continued drop-off in play when Embiid goes off the floor. Number two would be when you just look at assist-to-turnover ratio as a team, horrific, absolutely horrific. They just wilted under the pressure that Indiana put on them. It's not like that wasn't predictable. And to have as many, I think it was 20 turnovers at least, to a team that has a TJ McConnell and is going to pressure you in the backcourt, and you can't afford to be arguing with each other while inbounding from under the basket. You just can't afford to do that when TJ McConnell's on the floor. Like simple, predictable stuff that was missed, little details. There's a lot of good stuff, but just not at all what you'd look for in any sort of game that means anything.
What about, so TJ Warren goes for 53. Where does the blame fall there? Is that on a guy? Do you look at Ben Simmons and say, come on, dude, like, let's take some personal pride? Do you look at at Brett? I mean, who do you look at and say, how do you give a guy 53 who has no business scoring 53?
So, do you want my real opinion, or do you want
give it to me raw, baby?
Okay, here's my real opinion. I think you live with a guy. You get a guy like TJ Warren who's not a star, and he's got 29, and you head into the locker room, and you're feeling like a guy like that is not going to put up another 24 points in the second half, because non-stars typically, historically, over the long haul, will not carry over hot shooting halves into a second half. So clearly that was wrong. That was clearly wrong. But if you want my honest take, I'm looking at halftime, I'm looking at super heat check, and I'm thinking this guy's going to shoot 30% in the second half. So I'm not throwing out the game plan because TJ Warren got hot. I'm just not. So clearly that was a mistake, although they still had I think it was a 10-point lead with like 4 or 5 minutes left. So I don't think TJ Warren throwing up 53 is really a bad thing, because you still had a chance to win. Those are the kind of guys like, okay, you had your best night. And someone tweeted out a list of people who had career highs against the Sixers. And I do believe that there's a certain amount of, look, if this guy's really good enough, like he's not Kawhi Leonard, he is not Kobe Bryant, he is not the kind of guy that's just going to ride hot all night. If this guy really wants to take all the shots, let him take all the shots and we'll live with the result. And sometimes that's going to absolutely be wrong, and there's a laundry list of guys who've had career nights against them. I don't know the win-loss record in those. But to me, like, a non-star getting hot against you, no offense to Shake Milton, but I'm pretty sure the Clippers felt the same way when he dropped 39 on them. They were like, look, if we're going to let someone beat us, if one guy's going to beat us, let it be Shake Milton. Let's let it not be Tobias Harris or one of the other stars. So I'm not – the TJ Warren thing doesn't bother me at all. Now, did Ben Simmons look like the defensive player of the year? Absolutely not. Did Shake Milton get blown up on simple screens, putting Joel Embiid in really bad positions? Absolutely, he did. There's a lot of bad stuff that was just not what you'd want to see. But as far as like TJ Warren heat checks, that's the kind of stuff that I wouldn't worry about too much.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I totally agree with the way that you view that. Now, if Shake happens to be bad and he continues to not provide what this team needs, at what point do you make a change? And what is that change if you do? Is it bringing Ben back to the one? I don't know if there's another guard worthy of being in that spot. I know a lot of people are screaming for Alec Burks to get more minutes instead of Raul Neto, but I don't know if Alec Burks is that type of guard. He seems more of like a, high volume shooter off the bench for a spark when it comes to scoring. So, I mean, at what point do you make that change? And if you do, what is the change?
I couldn't agree with you more. And again, this is personal opinion. This is not me giving insight from what I'm hearing, but personal opinion. Alec Burks is someone you have to invest a number of shots into. You have to say, go freelance and make some plays. And those are the kind of players that can bail you out sometimes where nothing else is working. But Raul Neto would be the guy that says, look, we believe in the scheme and the game plan. We just need someone who's not going to go on tilt. So if Shake is going on tilt and he's in horrific foul trouble and he's turning the ball over, but we believe in the game plan, then you put Raul Neto in. But if it's long-term, you say, we can't trust Shake Milton with the ball in his hands, then I think you really have to say, do we put Ben Simmons back in as a stabilizing force as point guard? Now, one game, too early to say that. Really too early to say that. But I really don't think it's plan A. I think plan A is to let Shake sort of get his feet under himself. I like the fire. Honestly, I looked through that video of him arguing with Joel Embiid, and to me, that was a guy who was frustrated, two guys who saw what was happening in very different ways and were having some crucial conversations. I wonder if the lack of fans in the stands led them to sort of forget that they were on national television when they did that and thinking they're in a practice gym. But that tells me that he wasn't completely shaken to the point where he had lost confidence. So this is the kind of thing you want to really see tonight against a San Antonio team that plays pretty darn differently from their backcourt than Indiana does. And let's see what kind of performance you get out of him tonight.
All right, Jason Blevins at JBlevinsNBA on Twitter. Sixers and Spurs tonight, 8 o'clock, 97.3 ESPN has it for you. You mentioned it, the frustration about sitting in Embiid and, going down the toilet basically when he was off the floor again. He played 34 minutes, after missing the 2 games with the calf. That's why Horford's getting paid. I actually, I made the comment is I've almost rather have seen Pell out there the way that that Horford just could not, minus 26, just, bucket after bucket down the middle of the court there. That's what we saw exactly last year. They're not going to go to Pell, right? But why is it that Horford was such a drop-off?
Well, you use the right term, right? So drop. So Joel Embiid plays the Batman role in the Sixers terminology in their lexicon, and that really is a drop coverage, sort of hedge drop. And what I mean by that is instead of going out and blitzing a pick and roll with your big man and your point of attack defender, you sort of have your big man, your 7-footer, sort of hedge, which means go out and pretend that they're going to pick up or potentially switch on a pick and roll, but then really drop back in coverage and play free safety at the rim and protect the rim. That is a very specific Sixers role that they teach. It's called the Batman role. They teach it to every big man in Delaware. They've played this role really since Nerlens Noel, and some NBA centers can play that role and some can't. Al Horford is not a drop coverage center. So he is a good rim protector in man-to-man as far as a man-to-man defender against big men, but he is not a drop coverage pick and roll center that is going to essentially stop that track meet that you see teams do whenever Joel Embiid heads to the bench. Now, you brought up Norvell Pell, and on defense, obviously what you see is this is a guy who's been in the organization for a very long time, who has been taught the Batman role, knows exactly what he's expected to do, and is the kind of guy that wants to embarrass you at the rim, punch the ball into the stands to deter you from coming and attacking the paint. So you've kind of got that from your third stringer, but is he good enough to do, the other things that an Al Horford can do for you on the floor? to be the backup. That's a tougher thing to say.
Is there any update on Gleb Robinson III's injury? I think he has the ability to be an important role player off the bench.
At 6:15, we'll get. I haven't. Oh, let me check my. No, I don't have a text with an update from him. But at 6:15, Brett will talk, and we'll see if we have an update then.
All right, good stuff. Of course, Sixers Spurs tonight, and obviously, Richardson too. He's another guy, 2 for 4. I mean, just seemed, I don't want to say disinterested, but you could tell that he was not a factor in that game on either side of the ball, really.
Yeah, it's an odd thing. It's an odd thing. I don't know if it's there aren't enough dribbles maybe in the offense for guys that really need to get into a rhythm. He's not a pure catch and shoot player, so he needs the ball in his hands, but he's not a good enough passer, quite frankly, to become the backup point guard, which is what they tried early in the season. He was sort of the 2 slide to 1 when Ben went to the bench. He wasn't good enough in that role, but he sort of needs to dribble and get into a rhythm. So I really do worry that he's in a funky spot where he doesn't get enough usage to be what he is, and he's not a good enough shooter to really just be that pure 3-and-D assassin that maybe they're trying to make him. So I'm a little bit concerned of what we're seeing there with him.
All right, tonight, 8 o'clock, Game 2 of the Sixers reseeding game, or seeding games, I should say. You can hear that game right here on 97.3 ESPN. Jay Blevins, NBA, on Twitter. Give him a follow there. And, of course, Sixers are back at it at the end of the week, too. They've got tonight, Wednesday, and Friday, and Sunday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday. So busy with the Sixers as they get ready for the playoffs. Jay, we'll talk to you soon, pal.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, Jay Blevins, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline.